the majority of South Africans, so over 50% interviewed, researched, look back to the Rainbow Coalition of 94 to 2004, where we had economic growth, massive increase in employment, all the positives happening, and competent people in every position, regardless of race, regardless of whatever. And what happened was Zuma and Ramaphosa have destroyed that. They've destroyed it across the board. So people look back and say, well, maybe we could reignite the Rainbow Coalition, 94 to 2004, with competent people in charge.
Correct.
And we need to take the country back, which means the ANC will lose in 2024. They will. I honestly believe that. They're already below 50%. If we can get rid of Cyril Ramaphosa, who's lying and cheating and he's holding up the ANC by an additional 5%, have a look at Frans Cronje's reports. If we can get rid of him, and he is guilty, pala, he is guilty, the ANC will collapse below 40%. Frans Cronje's research has shown that if there was an election today in just the urban areas, the ANC is at 30% or below. They've lost the urban areas. They're becoming a poor, rural, uneducated party. Let's give the ANC credit and give them 40% of the national vote. The EFF, let's give them 10%. I mean, their glass ceiling is 12%. They're playing it very cleverly right now, not creating trouble, not trying to run any municipalities, giving their council votes to the DA and the PA and people like that, letting someone else, looking like they're doing the right thing. They're playing it clever. But the people of South Africa are not stupid. They know the ANC are incompetent in destroying the country. The majority do. And they know the EFF will only do way worse and destroy everything. The EFF are racists. So let's give the benefit of the doubt of, let's say 40 plus 9, 49% ANC EFF. By the way, they can never do a deal together. Because if the EFF and ANC do a deal, the EFF will run the ANC. They'll run the ANC, and the ANC know it. So that's not going to happen. So let's say the Democratic Alliance, 25%. Action SA, 15%. Okay? That's 40%. And then you've got Inkatha, VF Plus, COPE, and the African Christian Democratic Party, plus Gayton McKenzie and the PA. And that's 55%. That is the coalition that wins the country. And the economy is going to boom because all the bad news is already priced into the rand. The rand will take off. Foreign investment will pour in to this country like a wall. And the country will take off. I mean, we've got 10 years of fixing things. We're like the Ukraine. They got invaded by Russia, all infrastructure destroyed. We got invaded by the ANC, all infrastructure destroyed.
Sure.
We're going to have to rebuild both countries. And you know the expression, when you hit rock bottom? With the ANC, if we hit rock bottom, they're going to keep digging. And that's the problem. So there is worse than the ANC. It's the EFF. But, it's the old story of the frog in the water. They keep boiling the frog, okay? And the frog gets hotter and hotter and hotter and doesn't do anything. And eventually the frog bursts, dies. That's South Africans. We just think, okay, we've survived this, we've survived that, we can put up with it. I think enough's enough. Really, enough's enough. People are going to get out on the streets, get angry, and protest and start to show the ANC, we won't take it anymore. Helen Zille was right when she said, we should not be paying our taxes. So well put. Absolutely bang on. And South Africans say, well, we're resilient, we can put up with it, and we'll solve the problem. But we're not solving the problem. We're just destroying the country. We need to get together and chuck the ANC out.
Wow, Rob Hersov has got to be the Julius Malema for the non-blacks in South Africa. How he gets to call out names and call out the issues that are really problematic in South Africa. Listen to what he has to say about Becky Cele, the Minister of Police.
So the Minister of Police would be someone that has come out of the world of policing, like Ian Cameron.
Yes.
The Minister of Sport would be someone that comes out of the world of sport or sport business. And I think the majority of my cabinet would be people that have had business backgrounds and business experience, because there's no greater calling in life than being in business. If you make money, you be successful. If you lose money, you go out of business. Politicians don't go out of business. They just jump to the next way to steal. So a lot of the cabinet would be experts in that field and business people. You know, Becky Cele is useless as Minister of Police. He's stupid and useless, but he was Minister of Agriculture at some point. Do you know that? At the end of his first meeting as Minister of Agriculture, he listened for 3 hours, and then he said, I've learned a lot. I'm going to really make a difference as Minister of Agriculture. And you know what I'm going to do first? It upsets me that the Western Cape dominates wine production. I'm going to make sure there's wine production in the Transvaal, Free State, Natal.
Wow.
Now, what a stupid human being to realize you actually can't create wine in those places. He's so stupid he doesn't realize that. And that's a minister. And he's Minister of Police now. His knowledge of policing is zero. You know, Fikile too, useless. I mean, they just, our cabinet is a cabinet of clowns. All of them are stupid. All communists, which is even more stupid.
Yeah, so what do you guys think about this speech? Shout out to Groot FM. I really enjoyed this interview. And you know me on Kwazami here, I'm as objective as I can ever be. I just love listening to logical argument and fact, whether true or false. Some things might be true, some things might be false about what Rob Hersov speaks about, but we just have to listen. And one of the things I try and hope to do is to kind of like have this platform as a space where issues, especially issues plaguing most African countries, especially for now, I'm zoning in heavily on South Africa because the elections are close, on how those issues could actually be brought out to the fora, so that whatever governments or probably whichever party gets into office, most of these facts would be in our consciousness, so we're able to understand how far they have gone in solving the problems that have been raised from most of these interviews and speeches on this channel by these different people. You know, Rob Hersov's, all the speakers I feature on this channel. But on the case of the ANC, it seems like when you listen to Rob Hersov, it seems like the ANC sort of like has destroyed most of the promises of the Rainbow Nation. And a little research I conducted earlier on the Rainbow Nation kind of like speaks to a future that sort of like was decimated. And I think the strength, I always say this, I think the strength of the human race is the ability for the different races to come together to build and work together in a very respective way. When you study history, most of the times when the different races have come together to work together on something, we had the greatest outcomes and the greatest products of that cooperation. And whenever each race separates to work individually or to sink in itself, we had the worst features of that particular race come to the fore. And so I believe that there's a strength in working together racially when the blacks and the Asians and the whites and come together to build something. We see this strength in diversity, this effervescent of a different form of creativity that kind of like sparks from the different ways in which the different racial groups perceive and see the universe. I think it's really interesting if we can adopt that kind of stance. And I think that's the advantage South Africa has. That's the advantage South Africa has in that it represents that one nation or a few in the world today that really has the potential to exemplify that strength in diversity, which the world actually needs to see and understand and embrace and actually approve of and emulates the strength in a respective relationship among the different races. But unfortunately, it feels when you listen to Rob Hersov, you listen to most of these other non-black, especially leaders in these political parties, there's a lot of blame on how the ANC might have destroyed that future of the Rainbow Promise, which Mandela promised in 1994, and how, things slowly seem to just keep going downhill ever since 1994. So it felt like the more South Africans plunged into the future, the faster the nation moved backwards as South Africa moved away from that rainbow promise. And it's really tricky on how South Africans will ratify this. It's really tricky how the next government that comes into power would really ratify and come to bear, come to a certain place where all the races in South Africa are able to bring their strengths together and really contribute to the greater good of a nation, especially in the region of Africa, that can then probably be an example to shed the light to governance and to innovation and creativity as a nation. But it's really tricky on how that could play out, especially. But we'll keep studying here. We'll keep watching. I'll keep bringing up these speeches to really sort of like ignite our consciousness to really understand where the country has been, where the country is at the moment, and where the country might likely get to as we await for the next president in South Africa. But I don't know, what do you guys think about this speech? Share your thoughts in the comments. Thank you for watching, guys. I really hope you enjoyed this video. Please share and like and subscribe, because that's the way you support Kwazemi as a channel, an Afrocentric channel, where we try to understand deeper issues in African history and hopefully develop a collective intelligence on how we wish to build the Africa we want to see as people of Africa. See you in the next one.